Hello everyone, Brother Al McClaney with this week's stewardship video. And as always, before we go too far, here's a disclaimer. No advice should be seen as a recommendation or endorsement, as I am not a licensed financial advisor, and this is for educational purposes only. You want to do your own research or utilize someone who maybe you've paid in that capacity, such as a certified financial planner or an investment broker. So this week, um, the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's a civil rights icon. He was with Dr. King doing the movement and was actually there when he was assassinated. Jesse Jackson was born in 1941 and he passed away February 17th of this week as we got the notification. And Reverend Jesse Jackson was known for Rainbow Coalition and definitely the civil rights movement. So he was operated tremendously in political affairs, as well as he had a run himself for president. But something that you may not be aware of is Reverend Jesse Jackson was really into also economic empowerment as well as opening doors. In fact, there was a 1999 Wall Street Project conference that was January 14th and 15th of that year, where he had speakers like President Clinton. He actually had Donald Trump speak, and he had all types of CEOs there from different corporations as well as different sectors in which he was speaking about opening up opportunity for the marginalized African American business owners. And one of his quotes was, "You can't plant a seed and pick the fruit the next morning," which God and placed on my heart. That's a biblical concept. And if you look at Proverbs 21:5, it says, "Good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty." So what that concept is around the idea of planting seed, of that you need to plan for things, and it's not going to happen overnight. So you want to be, in some translations that says diligence and hard work leads to prosperity. So the whole premise behind that Wall Street project, this is it aligns perfectly with biblical stewardship. In fact, biblical stewardship is managing God's resources in a way that promotes justice, expands opportunity, ensures that prosperity flows to everyone. Now, we're not talking about socialism or communism, but we're talking about uh, being able to bless others from an area of generosity and to be fair when it comes to, and of course, the Bible would be against any type of racism. That would be considered a sin. And this way in biblical stewardship is the same vision that the Wall Street Project was focusing on and cultivating. So, as we remember Reverend Jackson's life, we do know, of course, his civil rights uh, area and focus, but he was really, really also focused on economic empowerment and opening up markets for everyone, as could be seen by that Wall Street Project um, conference in 1999. So, do some research on it. You'll be maybe surprised and learn a lot about that, what came out of that conference and how it opened up a lot of doors for people like me when it came to Wall Street and the market and corporate business ventures. So, with that, we want to take a look at corporate and the earnings that are being released and reported this week, the week of February 23rd. We have some large ones. A lot of focus is on this Wednesday, but I'm not going to jump forward yet to Wednesday. But here's some coming up to it. We've got like Domino's Pizza. We've got Home Depot that's reporting. Workday, probably a lot of you see those commercials that are out there. And then probably the big one for this week, and not even probably, I would say the big one for this week, everyone's looking at NVIDIA, because that's going to give us insight into technology as well as artificial intelligence. Uh, and then you got TGA Max, which is going to be in the area of consumer. And that could be also possibly like consumer staples, which is going to come up later. I'm going to talk about. You've got D-Wave, which is, and CoreWeave, which is in the areas of quantum computing, and Dell, of course, is technology. I'm going to be paying particular attention. Again, this is not a recommendation because I do have some positions in NVIDIA and D-Wave, stock symbol QBTS. So I'm going to be paying particular attention to those stocks that are reporting. So let's take a look at year to date, how the different sectors have been doing. And overall, the S&P year to date is actually up 1%, even with all of the dramatic swings we've had, huge up days, huge down days, right? Overall, for the year, it's still up 1%. The areas that specifically have been on a run are energy, up 22% year to date, materials up 16% year to date, and consumer staples. Typically, when you have things like consumer staples that are up, that's kind of defensive stock where people may be going into areas where they know uh, no matter what's going on in the economy, people still have to spend in that area. So let's take a look at consumer staples. XLP is the exchange traded fund that represents it, but we can go take a look inside of XLP, and this is it right here, the top 10 holdings: Walmart, Costco, there's Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, um, and you've got like Colgate. All these different ones are within the XLP exchange traded fund. I wanted to also look at, because we got some other news this week where the Supreme Court ruled that some, or the way that the tariffs were put in place by President Trump was actually unconstitutional. It resembled, or they're saying it was a tax, and the only one who can tax authority is through Congress. So those were rolled back, but immediately he put in tariffs, and I just got an alert. It was 10%, now 15%, utilizing a different mechanism that can be in effect for 150 days. So looked at and used um, an AI generated co-pilot and posed this question: which companies could benefit with, possibly a rollback in tariffs? And it came up with some consumer staples like Walmart, Target, Costco, TGX, right? TJ Maxx, and Best Buy, which you also saw made up some of the XLP and also are actually reporting. So again, here's that disclaimer. It's not a recommendation. Do your own research, but this could be some areas that you're looking at when it comes to investing. And with that, want to take a look at the end. As always, looking at the overall market, we're still in this channel. I mean, we're up and down, but we're still staying right here. Hopefully, you see the cursor as kind of support. And then here seems to be resistance, right? We can't seem to get out of the price range. Same thing that's going on in SPY, but this kind of the upper band, like it wants maybe to break out to to the top and go on a bull run, but it's definitely got support here and then resistance, but it keeps staying kind of at the top of its band versus what we see going on with QQQ. It's in the channel, but it's staying toward kind of the bottom of its band, which means it could be looking for, maybe some down action here, but no, we don't know. Only the Lord knows. So with that, I want to close out, and there's a video because I voted today. We've just started early voting in Texas, and want to make sure, I'm not going to espouse any political party, but the important thing is to vote. Look, there are economic issues out there that look, do your research and vote. So we start off the primaries, and then of course they'll start those coming out of the primaries or get into a general election, and then in November, of course, that's when we'll be having the general election. But here is I want to close out with Jesse Jackson and his speaking about the importance of voting.
Voting does matter. Voting determines the course of our country. And there are those who want to discourage people from voting, those who want to deny people the right to vote, hope that they will not vote. Use that vote.
So it's important. It's the importance of voting. And as always, I want to close out with these are the ways that you can like and subscribe. Go out on YouTube. You can get put on the distribution list, and you can come directly to your email, or you can get a notification. Normally, I do these on the weekend. And so, as always, how we end is remember Jesus is Lord, therefore He's the owner, but we play an important role of being the faithful steward, which means we follow His principles with His resources. And as my pastor, Denny Dwight Davis, says, keep a good spirit and have a yabba do good time. And before I forget, one of the things my wife did point out to me about Jesse Jackson, he died during Black History Month. As we were starting to close out in Black History Month, it almost seems fitting that he would, pass away in the month of February. My wife pointed that out. So we'll see you next week, the stewardship video.